It's 7:11 p.m. I'd like to call the Public Service Committee to order. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first item is order number 191007840A, application renewal livery license for Mr. Danker, DBA Global Limousine Service and Tours, 117 Eagle Court. Thank you. You sit here and you can be Mr. Oram for the night. Not Council Oram, but Mr. Oram. Okay, I'm glad we're finally getting together and we got you here. Tell us a little about what your business plan is, your game plan. I know you're going to be working out at 17 Eagle Court, which
sure.
The building inspector is comfy with. He has no problem. You know, one car yourself.
Yeah, one car for myself. I started as an Uber driver 4 years ago, and this is my second year with my own business. And my clientele is mostly Japanese tourists and Japanese corporate.
Mostly what?
Japanese, because I'm originally from Japan.
Yeah, sure.
Japanese corporate executives who visit this area. So I provide, chauffeur service, and sometimes I do a tour guide for them too. And sometimes students visiting this area, a group of students from Japan.
Yeah. So you must go to the airport a lot, do you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Almost every day.
Now, how's that work in the airport now? Do you have better privileges than the Stadies and?
Yes, so Uber now has to pick up and drop off at the central parking, but Liberty, so far, we are able to drop off and pick up at the terminals, but it's changing too.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, to my members of the committee, the query's fine, you know.
Yes,
Chief,
Mr. Chair.
Building inspector's fine, so. Samantha, if you have any, Councilor, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, Councilor.
Just a quick question on one of the tours. How many passengers could you have possibly?
So my own car that I have can fit up to 5 people. It's a large SUV. But if I get bigger group, I subcontract the.
So and then you have an insurance policy for your
Yes.
vehicle to carry over if you're doing another vehicle and
Right, I outsource to the company that has the proper insurance, and
okay.
I act as a tour guide. Then I ride with them, and yes.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions from the other councilors here? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? 3-0. Okay, as I
Thank you
mentioned
very
to
much.
you, I will
Thank you
report
for
this
your
out
time.
at the meeting next Monday, which I think is the 9th, and Karen will be in contact with you there. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
And good luck.
Yes, absolutely.
The next item on our agenda is order number 201007933. Petition from Mass Electric to install a new pole in anchor number 79-84 on Berlin Road, which will enable National Grid to remove the pole to the tree guide wire. And, okay, so what's going on out in Berlin Road? I was out there today.
Yep.
And another example, I'm going to have more to say about it later, but it seems like you guys went through a period of time that when you had a pole that you needed support, you just took the closest tree across the street and ran a wire over there.
Yes, that's
And these trees grow, and it grows around the wire, and
right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Over the years with storms and,
Yeah.
if the tree ages,
Yeah.
branches give way. You
Yeah.
don't want a wire
Yeah.
coming off of it and maybe dragging in the street at some point or causing any kind of safety issues. So there is an initiative to, anytime we do jobs around those tree guys, to get them out of there and put a stub pole in its place if that's what we need to do. So
Yeah.
in this case, there's some road work apparently being done there, so we're looking to get the tree guy removed and a stub pole to keep the stability of that pole line intact.
Yeah, there is evidently other work going on down there, because someone's been cutting trees along Berlin Road there, too. You notice that, John?
Yeah, I did, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
what's
yeah.
going on down there?
That I do not know.
I know the city has done a little patching along.
Because
there,
it's
so-
a very narrow, that part is very narrow.
Yeah, I noticed it was
was
a very rural area,
Very
small.
tight right there, and I noticed that a plow or vehicle can sometimes clip a tree. That was the question that I had. With this pole, how far up in the embankment is that from
They
the?
try to get it at least a few feet off the road,
Okay.
as far as they can before they get into someone else's lot, keep it on the town take.
Because that is, Mr. Chair, that is a very tight area right there.
Yeah, I noticed that when I drove by. I think there's like a rock wall or
A
something.
rock
along-
wall,
Yeah, so
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they try to get it off the road as far as they can before they impinge on something else.
Okay.
So you should have at least a few feet of clearance there.
Thank you, thank you.
And how long do you estimate it will take to complete?
This order's been in for some time. Generally, they don't give us particular timeframes because the crews sometimes get called off to different things. But it's generally like within a 2-month span from the time the job's designed to when a crew can get to it. So any time in that window, depending on if there's storms and things holding up schedules. But I would assume in this case where it's been in the making for a while, I'm sure it's on the schedule now.
Okay, I did get communications from the town engineer, Tom DePercio, and he's comfortable with this.
Okay.
Personally, myself, you're talking to a guy that's lived in a neighborhood with no poles for 51 years. I don't find poles terribly attractive, all right? And, that Berlin Road's a nice country road.
Right.
Now, all the, going towards the mall, basically, most of the poles are on the left. Now, all of a sudden, with all the trees and all the nice plantings there, you're putting a pole. And I guess I understand why you want to get rid of the guide wires. They're risky, especially if there's a transformer there.
Right.
Is there a solution? In many respects, I'd like this committee to meet with the engineers as they submit one of these. I'd have to have them in a meeting because I'd want you guys to hear. But just, is there another way of doing it? I mean, can you take the existing pole and put it down deeper? I mean.
There are ways, sometimes you can use a push brace, which is the pole behind another pole, kind of like this. We have a pole directly behind the pole.
Oh, you're not taking double poles, are you?
Well, it's not side by side, but you have
I bring Mr.
the
Thompson
pole in
Clancy
question.
back on that one, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of brace it, instead
Yeah.
of going across the street, you brace it to hold it in place. If there's room behind that pole in question, can
Because
possibly
this is a
attempt
tough
that.
spot, because as you mentioned,
Absolutely,
it is
Mr.
up
Chair.
kind of like an
Yes.
embankment.
Yeah, and I think the pole side started a curve there on the
That's
road.
a curve.
It is,
It has everything
absolutely.
going against it.
Right. It's a tough, you have those spots, sometimes it's tough to work with. What's around the pole as far as land,
Yeah.
other utilities, trees, things like that. So in this case, that seemed like the easiest solution.
I'm gonna recommend that we move forward on this, but I wish there was a better way.
Yeah, in some cases, if it's maybe a very slight curve, things like that, they can, what they call rack back the pole, where they just angle it in the ground
Yeah.
a few inches or so. So it's already starting at an angle away from the turn.
Yeah.
And maybe fill it in with some gravel so it kind of holds it in place. It's not maybe the best long-term solution.
correct.
But they'll have to come back and adjust it later or something, but.
Okay, any comments from my other councils out there? Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, all set, and likewise, I will report this out next Monday, and then Karen will pick it up from there, and we'll get
Okay,
moving on.
great.
Okay, you might as well sit right there, because we got the next item, which is a continued review. This is order number 19007864, petition from Massachusetts Electric to install a push brace number 7-89 in Front Street, which will enable National Grid to remove the pole to a tree guide wire. Well, I spent a little time out there today, and I walked around the pole, and I looked up. There's two guide wires there. There's one that's coming across the street to a pole, which that's the one you want to get rid of, because I have an idea, the tree that it goes into, that's about 20 feet off the ground, it's been cut down for a few years, And I have an idea that tree's only gonna last. But, and now maybe the church wants it down. But what surprised the heck out of me, they said, in the other angle, there's a wire that goes to a house, but there's also another wire, guide wire, that goes to the right of the church and back. So that one pole didn't look necessarily that bad to me, but yet there's two guide wires on it. And, you know, I can see now why someone made the decision to go a different route, you know, to put a pole in with a guide.
It could depend on what's the weight on the other pole and the
What's
other.
that?
It could mean there's some added weight on the other pole down the
Yeah.
line. Maybe there's a transformer nearby or extra equipment on there, like a recloser or something along those lines where they needed that extra line, that second line to hold up straight. That's always a possibility. But this is a case like the previous job where the first attempt was to go with a push brace instead of coming across the street with a stub pole. But apparently that's the question, is they now, the town engineer would like to maybe look at the stub pole option.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that's the bottom
Mr.
line.
Chair,
And
yeah.
you want to comment on that?
I did, thank you, Mr. Chair. What is the time frame that you were looking for to get this work done? Because I'm not that comfortable if the city engineer, DePercio, has suggested that to have this alternative met, and as of yet, no communication has been completed with the engineering, I wouldn't be comfortable voting on it right now. So I didn't know if you had a time frame of when you needed this.
As soon as possible. I mean, it's really up to the town to
Sure.
get back to the National Grid engineer and say, we prefer either this push brace option or the stub pole. I talked to the engineer briefly about it today, and he said...
Our engineer or your engineer?
Ours.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Dana. And he said he went out there, he looked at it, and a stub pole, because of where it would go across the street, it would end up in the sidewalk. And of course, you had a sidewalk anchor to that, so you wouldn't get into someone else's private lot.
Correct.
It's to stay on town property.
Makes sense, yes.
So you're impinging on any kind of sidewalk plowing, things like that. So that was his question. Do you
They
really
do
want
plow
to put
that neighborhood. Yeah, it used to be the elementary school down there, but there is still a school there. And
Yes.
Church Street, Front Street, you know, there's...
That's the reason he went the push
parking lot.
brace route to begin with. If you guys want to maintain that easy plow option of
Yeah.
the sidewalks to keep those clear, this pole and anchor would impinge on that to some degree. It would be right in the sidewalk. So it's up to you, you know, it's up to you guys if that's,
Yeah,
if you want to go forward with that option, I can tell them that.
right. Council Perman, do you have a comment? Question?
No, I agree that, you know, if we haven't gotten sort of a close on the loop from our city engineer, I wouldn't feel comfortable voting on it at this time.
On the push brace option, the first option, or the?
Yeah, because we had communication from the engineer today that we weren't notified yet of the final proposal, because there had been some communication back and forth.
Yeah, Dana, the engineer on our side, he said he had reached out to them, I think it was a couple weeks ago maybe, and he was waiting to hear back on their preference, really. He'll design it whichever way you guys prefer, whatever works for the town.
Oh, and as the chair said, we're very comfortable, we're very happy that you've supplied this information. It's just that at this point, we haven't, the engineer hasn't been notified on that proposal. So,
On the stub pole one across the street?
when the engineer asked for the alternative method for approaching this particular pole.
So instead of a push brace, an
Yeah.
anchor pole was what the
Across the street, right, the one that will end up in a sidewalk?
Yes.
So
That's
you
the
need something
problem.
more official,
That's right,
drawn
that
up, is that what it is?
So what's your desire?
My motion, Mr. Chair, would be to table until we can.
Postpone,
What's that?
to postpone it to the next meeting?
Yeah, table to the next meeting.
Yeah, well, with the rules, we've changed it to be postponed. Table would mean that we would no longer have
okay,
it. So
we-
I know,
What's...
or maybe not yet.
Not yet.
What's Council Roby saying? Postpone, excuse me.
I was trying to
Okay.
utilize the
Yeah.
new lingo.
I just want to make one comment.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
This is my problem. All right, you got the pole. That's, you know, those aren't attractive. Now you have another pole like that.
Right.
So we're taking a 3/4 inch cable that's 20 feet up in the air. The only ones that see it are the birds, all right? And we're replacing it with a telephone pole that's going to be 40 feet up, and then that cross piece, that's probably, they don't even cut that one, that's gonna be long, right? So
It's
you
generally the
end
same
up with
length,
something like
yeah.
that on the corner of Church and Front Street, right across from a beautiful white church. And that's why we gotta,
Yeah, due to the lines running up the street and the weight of the equipment and the tension on the poles, it's either that push brace on the same side near Front Street, or we put the stub pole across the street in the sidewalk. Maybe there's some finagling there on where near the sidewalk it can go. He'd have to measure things out and see how much room there is to play with there.
we'll get with our city engineer, so
Sure.
we have a motion to postpone. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Great.
Great.
Okay, I think that wraps up our meeting. Do I
Yeah,
hear
if
a
the town,
Motion
if
to
the
adjourn.
town engineer wants to reach out to ours, Dana Larson, and they can come to an agreement, and he can design it through pretty quick right
We
after
appreciate
We
that.
won't delay it, we'll get on it, but.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Okay, a second? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, finance is up next, huh?
Thank you.
Finance in 2.